Welcome to Key Conversations, where you get to connect with the best of the music business, unlocking the secrets to exploding your music career, presented by In the Key of Success. I'm your host, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. The conversations you're about to hear are between our special guest and participants of my MX4 course, the Marketing and Branding, Money-Making, Mentorship Mastermind for Musicians. They are singers, songwriters, composers, producers, and artists just like you, asking their burning questions of our experts while transforming their careers over 6 weeks. If you think this could be you, check out mx4course.com to schedule a free half-hour coaching call with me to see if we'd be a good fit. So, let's get started. We are back with Hunter Scott talking all things PR. We can do one more round then. Let's see. Gary, do you have another question for Hunter? I mean, I've got so many questions. So if you don't, I've got my laser round ready to go, but my speed rounds. But Gary, let's do one more from you if you've got one.
Okay. I want to put you on the spot a little bit here, Hunter. So if you take what you just told me about an artist coming into your office, but you turn that around, you look in the mirror on yourself, tell me who you are as a company, your product, your goals. Is there a market for your goals? Where did you find that market, and what your niche is in it, where you're going?
So I started the company during the recession, and labels were shrinking and dying off. And the reason that the company did really good is for two reasons. One is that people realize that they don't need necessarily to be signed to a label in order to get their stuff out there. We already know before that recording has become more accessible and cheap, fairly to do. And so you could have a product, but people still assumed for a long time they needed a label to get it out there. And then all of a sudden, there was that shift where there were less labels taking on and doing it, and more people were looking to get their music out independently. So companies like ours came out and said, well, yeah, we can work with you directly and we get your music out there, and that's great. But the reason that I think we did really good over time is that we took our sweet time in building and growing. We didn't take anybody that could just pay. We really looked at how we can help someone. For me, integrity is really, really important. I've had for us, we have a roster. It's usually full way in advance. I had someone that wanted to take the really amazing artist that we love. She wanted to take a slot that we had coming up the following month. We signed her on, and then it took a while to get material from her. All of a sudden, it just took a lot longer than anticipated. So I moved her start date effectively, which is like her payment date, without her asking. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, he's a good guy. It's more because I think integrity is really important. Like I don't feel good taking someone's money unless we know we can do, we're working for them, we can do a really good job. So it's not about the bottom line. It's about the music. It has to be about the music. The other thing is, even if I really like someone, my senior publicists in the office that are going to be doing the day-to-day work with a client, they have veto power. So if they don't like it, if they don't believe in the product, because you have to think of us as the salespeople for the music. We represent you to press. We have to get out there. We have to get the music out there and the product out there and you out there as a brand. And if we don't believe in it, or if someone's pitching you doesn't believe in it, I don't want them on the project. So that's the other aspect of it. So I love that you said it in a way of like, look at yourself in the mirror, because I do. For me, there's two things I always ask. If I can't sleep at night, I don't want anything to do with it. And the day that I won't enjoy doing what I'm doing anymore, I won't be doing it anymore.
Very cool. Good things to live by there. I like that a lot. I want to interject with a question. Who needs you right now? What kind of artist? Like when do they say, okay, now it's time to call a PR company, or specifically yours?
So there's two different aspects, because we have two different divisions at the firm. We have the PR division, and then we have a social media division. So the PR division, which is our main one, also the oldest one, is how the company started. Usually it's about when you have a product and you need to get it out there. So when I say getting it out there, meaning that you're ready to release it, you're gearing up to release it. You're going to have shows. You're going to be doing those things, and you need someone to represent you to press. You need someone to get you, because in blogs, vlogs, magazines, newspapers, TV, radio. When you open TV and there's someone playing Jimmy Kimmel, a publicist booked that. When you open a newspaper or read a blog and there's a review of your favorite artist, a publicist secured that. When you go to a show and then there's someone there from a local newspaper that's doing a review, a publicist did that. So that's when you hire a publicist, when you're ready to have someone do those things for you. On the social media aspect, they really go hand in hand. The reason we added social media about 5 years ago is because there is this beautiful relationship between the two. So people will hear about you a lot of times through press, although yes, it's also the word of mouth, but let's talk about how the connection from press works for a second. So if you look at it from someone saw you on late night, or someone read a review about you, and now they know that you're there and they come to your page and let's say they like you or they follow you on Instagram. Now through social media is your way to kind of seal the deal and upstream them from base fan to super fan status. So now they're getting a point from they just know you to let's make sure they fall in love with you. Let's get them to interact with you. And those are the things that will then get them to a point of, okay, I know you exist, to a point of now I'm spending money on you, and now you're making a living doing music as a result.
Cool. I like that. And just a quick follow-up, the time out, if someone's got a release, so they're going to the PR side of the company, how much time ahead of time before the actual release date, or do you guys choose that together? So different PR companies work in different ways. I'll tell you how we work, and then I'll explain the philosophy of how some other people work and why I don't agree with them. So for us, we like to start a campaign if it's an independent artist. So there's a lot of factors in it. If this is a major label artist or an artist that's, again, usually with a label, will be doing like a radio campaign, then timelines would change. But for an independent artist, you want to start the campaign about 4 weeks prior. 4 weeks gives us enough time to put together the press materials, write the press release that, yes, we'll need, even though we won't be blasting it out randomly, and start pitching it. So when your music comes out, and we usually start with a single, right? So when the single comes out, you start getting reviews and features and press for that the day of and the week of that it comes out. And then you have that whole kind of flow afterwards of let's keep press going for 2 months afterwards before you release something else. That's all we need in that regard. Now, some other firms we're seeing start a campaign 2-3 months before you release anything. I don't like that because there's that instant gratification of now I read about you. If I get you press before something's out, I read about you and I want to go consume it. I want to be able to go and download it. And if it's not available, I'm going to forget about you. I'm not going to remember you in a month from now, especially not if you're an independent artist. So for me, it's a waste of time. The other thing that I'm seeing people do is that they do campaigns that are really short for 2 months to get you like a premiere for a single, and then their job is done. And that blows my fucking mind. I'm allowed to curse, right? Yeah, totally.
Sorry, I usually ask in advance for permission.
Oh, yeah. I'll just tag it as explicit. It's all good.
No, it blows my mind because, again, going back to people's attention span being short, if I just got you a premiere somewhere and that's all I'm doing, people are going to forget about you. Promotion is all about consistency. You have to get getting people's minds over and over and over again. It's very similar to what happens with advertising. Like, you wouldn't just run an ad once. You wouldn't run a commercial once. You want to brainwash people. You want them to remember you. You want them to know you're there. When an album comes out, you want to be doing, a morning show on TV. And then, so I flip the TV in the morning and I see you play. And then I open my favorite blog and I see a review. And then all the way to now I'm going to bed and I'm seeing you again on TV, or, people talking about social media. Build a whole thing where you're on fire. But don't just have that for one day. Have that going on for a long time, because you want that consistent. The consistency of it to just be repetitive, and for, again, people to be able to recognize you. In terms of building the brand, that's exactly what it is. It's brand recognition. And it's not just about going and getting featured in as many places as possible. It's also about being in the same place multiple times. So you have to go back to that same blog a couple months from now when you have something new and say, hey, feature me again. Now I have new material, because that blog has a specific set of readers that will want to, once they see you again, will go, oh yeah, that guy or that girl or that band. Think about it when you listen to radio and you go, how many times have you heard a song on the radio and you immediately went, shit, where have I heard the song before? I know the song. Where have I heard it before? It's because you heard it before and your mind didn't register. I mean, I should say it registered, but it registered somewhere in the back of your mind and you weren't paying attention to it. But now the second, third time you heard it, all of a sudden it's familiar. Now there's a song recognition to it. So you have to build your brand recognition in a similar way. So don't neglect that. Just be repetitive and know in advance that for that reason, we only take on for people for 6 months at a time. We know that we need you for at least 6 months, and our retention rate is 94%. We're really proud of it. So 9 out of 10 clients stay for longer than that, because now you've built something where you can see tangible things come out of it. Now you want to keep going, right? But when you do something for 2-3 months, it's going to die off really quickly. So really build that. Be a smart artist that has a release schedule, that has songs ready to go in advance. You know, you're going to release something now, and 2 months later, you're going to release another thing. And then you're going to release another thing after that. And in between, you're going to have a lot of content for social media. Whether we're handling it or you're handling it yourself, it's fine. You have to be posting several times a week. Go get photos, do things that are cool, that are unique. Just stand out and grab people's attention. Because if you won't, someone else will, and then you're not making a living doing music.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Danny, do you have a laser question?
Yeah, I guess my question is, like, when you're going over goals before you start with a particular artist, like, what metrics do you use to measure, like, the success of the campaign? Like, do you kind of list, like, we want to get you in X amount of blogs and interviews, or is it like social media numbers we're going to get you to here, or Spotify streams, or is it something more obscure, like we're just going to grow your awareness? Or
it's everything. So goals, have you ever heard of a term called SMART goals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like in Marketing 101, we teach SMART goals. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, realistic, achievable, and time-based. So you want to be quantifiable for sure, because you want to say, I want to be famous. Famous for you and famous for me can mean two different things. You want to sell a lot of records. You want to play in front of a lot of people. What does that mean? A lot, 100 people, 1,000 people. And if we don't know that in advance, then how do I know that I'm making you happy when I think I'm doing a good job and you're not? So having those things are really important. So yeah, you can come to me and say, I want to have 10,000 followers on Instagram for doing a social media campaign for you. And then we can say, okay, in what amount of time? So that's also part of it. And then we can ask ourselves, is it realistic? And so all those things are really, really important. I'll give you essentially an example of how you do it. So first you put together your goal and you make sure it's everything that we said, specific, measurable, realistic. And then you say, that's your macro goal. That's your main goal. How do we break that up into micro goals? Micro goals then become actionable tasks, which essentially is your to-do list and our to-do list. So we know what we have to do every day in order to get there. And that puts us on kind of on the path of let's be accountable for our actions. And it also tells us, well, we want to give you these numbers, but we also need you to give us this content. And it's that beautiful marriage together of now we know when things are good. Also, it's a really interesting thing to do because it allows us to look at it from, you can see the little things you have to do now, your to-do list, but you can also see the broad picture of what you're doing now in order to get a certain place where you want to go. And you can certainly from that see in advance if that's something that's, again, realistic, because a lot of times the goals may not be as realistic and you understand that you're playing a long game. I think understanding in general that you're going to be playing the long game is a really important thing, because you want to be, you can't build a building from the third ground up. You have to have a solid foundation and build it from there.
Awesome. Dang, great question. It's almost like you did this whole MX4 course. We talk about specific results all the time. And usually that means there's a number attached to it. So we can actually measure, did that work or did that not work? And if it worked, cool, let's do more of what worked. And if it didn't work, cool, let's not do that anymore. Let's change something up. So nice.
Yeah, and I just want to say, in terms of social media, it's really easy to go back and see what posted better than others. That's like a simple thing. You can go into your analytics and say, well, I did a video, it did better than when I did text, it did better than when I did a link. You can really see those things, how many people reached, for some people reacted to it, and then ask yourself, wait, did I do a call to action? And did I do an open-ended question? Did I post a different time of day? You can learn a lot from that.
That's awesome. And I think that it ties so many things in, like accountability and, that integrity with each other, and also just getting really clear on the goals. Like Paul came in, 7 weeks ago and was like, my big goal is to get my band organized. And then we sort of dug deeper and we're like, well, why? What do we specifically want? And it was like, well, we want to be playing 10 festivals by the end of the year. And I'm like, okay, that we can work with. And yeah, you got to be organized in order to like pitch and have everything you need. So I think having that SMART, SMART, goals are really, really helpful for the whole long game. So awesome. That's super awesome. Speaking of Paul, do you have one more question?
Yes. So how does Lafamas's price structure work? Is it like a 365 thing, or is it just pay up front?
No, all publicists work on retainer.
Okay.
So you pay monthly for our efforts. It's not 365. We don't own anything. We so not want to own anything that I even made it a point to put in a contract that says you own everything. We don't want to own anything.
Gotcha.
We just want to make that really, really clear. It's not a partnership. It's not a profit sharing. We represent you to press. We put X amount of hours. It's not like we put X amount of hours in terms of we tell you how many hours we put in, but I can tell you that easily we put in 40 plus hours a month on each client. It's a lot of work. If it was let's take a press release and blast it out to 1 million people, easy. I can do that in 5 seconds. It just takes me an hour to write the press release. I hit send and we're done. But when you're writing those personalized pitches, when you're figuring out what that is for every single artist, and then writing the specific writer, journalist, blogger, broadcaster separately, and following up with them after the fact on all those things, those are very time consuming. But now you're looking at quality over quantity, and you're going to be a lot more successful in that.
Good question.
Okay, thanks.
One thing I've heard from several different PR companies is always I can't guarantee anything for this money. How do you guys approach that question? Like, what do I know I can get out of this? And in an industry that is hard to guarantee anything.
So first of all, before you start explaining why we can't guarantee anything, we don't pay the writer. It's illegal for us to do that. It falls under advertising if we pay for that real estate, and they have to disclose it legally by saying this is a paid advertisement. So for us, we pitch it to the artist. We pitch the artist to the writer or the editor, but we don't know for sure that they're going to like it. And we don't know that they're going to have time to write about it. So that's why we always have to say that we can't guarantee. We have those relationships, but it doesn't mean that we can get, that they're 100% going to do it, which is the definition of the guarantee. With having said that, here's what you want to do in order to make sure that you're finding someone that has a good relationship. One, and building yourself a good relationship with a publicist. One is to ask about the client to staff ratio. How many people do you have on staff? How many people are you dealing with? Because if you know that it's one person dealing with 50 people, they're not going to have time for you, or they're not going to have a lot of time or enough time, certainly, to work on your project. That's number one. Number two is asking not where they have contacts, but where they can get you into. That's a really important aspect, because while I may know the booker Jimmy Kimmel, it doesn't mean I can take independent unknown artist X and get them in there tomorrow. It doesn't work that way.
Accordion children's music artist.
Exactly. Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't care about that. No. So you have to be at a certain, but even if you're like an amazing rock artist, but you're just starting out, they want to be able to, you have to be at a certain level before you're pitchable to certain magazines and blogs. So you have to, again, it goes back to us talking about building a solid foundation first, right? Creating a little bit of I hate that word buzz, but creating a little bit of hype for you beforehand. So that's the other aspect. The third is also finding a publicist that specializes in your kind of music. Our firm specializes in pop, rock, indie, singer-songwriter, and everything in between. But if you came to me and you were, this just happened, like actually last week while I was out, I got an email from someone does hip hop, and you politely said, I listened to the music while I was gone. It was good. But I don't specialize in hip hop. I don't have enough contacts there. So I said, we can help you with social media, but I can't represent this for PR because, I just can't. But here's a recommendation, another PR firm that does do hip hop. And then I send it to them. So knowing that you're finding someone that will do that is really, really important. And then third or fourth or fifth, wherever we're at. But the final point is seeing what kind of work they've done. So for me, when I talk to a potential client that they were sent to us by management or a label or their attorney or whoever it was, our friend, we'll say, well, here are some examples here are some press kits of our current clients. So you can see where they're getting press. That will be more tangible for you in terms of seeing, okay, what the work is. And then we explain how long you're working with them. Here's what they got when and all that kind of stuff. But it's there. It's for you to see. And so we're not just talking in the air. For me, again, it always comes back to, let's talk about the actual tangible things. Let's put together an actual list of what we're going to do. And let's be really clear, because for me, I've always seen, it's like this class you're taking right now and this podcast you're listening to, it's supposed to give you actual tangible things you could be doing rather than let's talk about theory. I hate talking about theory. Theory is stupid because it's just going to give you an idea of how things work without telling you how you're going to do it. So instead of talking about theory and then you figuring out, let's talk about how I'm giving you examples of current clients and people I've worked with in the past as well to give you ideas of what you can be doing for yourself today.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, this is gold, guys. You just got like the 5-point checklist of things you need to take into any PR meeting when you're about to hire someone, like check, this. And then like, that's your framework for deciding, is this a good fit for me? So, I mean, right there, that was gold. So I want to finish it up by asking you, Hunter, is there anything else in this whole world of PR that I know we could talk for hours and hours and hours that you haven't said yet that you would say to indie artists, musicians, composers, anyone thinking about whether or not now is the right time to hire a PR company? Anything that we've missed?
I'm sure we missed a lot of things because there's a lot of things we could be talking about.
We might have to have you again then.
I would love to, but I think probably the most important thing is for me is be a go-getter. And don't just say you're a go-getter, but be a go-getter. And the time is now, and don't be a planner, because I always see people who are like, we're thinking of releasing something next year. And then, they release something 2 years after that, or they're doing a Kickstarter campaign, but it takes them 3 years to actually release it after the fact. Don't do that, because time is now. And when you don't do it, someone else will, and they'll do a better job because they were there to do it while you were, I'm not going to say anything mean, but while you were essentially not doing it. So figure out what you want to do. If you want to get out there and you want to be a musician, yes, you have to have a good product. Don't bring a crappy product that you don't have time to produce, but there's no reason why you can't produce something really good in a couple of months. We're not talking about tomorrow, but I think when you wait too long, you're just, those people, to me, I usually don't spend time on them, because when you're planning too much in advance, you're going to keep planning. You're never going to end up releasing. So it's really important that you actually get out there and do it. And besides that, the publicist is not going to make or break you without anything else. It's going to be a combination of a lot of things. You're going to be working really hard as well. Social media manager is going to do a great job for you, but not if you give them content. Publicist is going to do a good job for you, but not if you can't give them music and also play shows. And manager's is going to do a good job for you, but not if you also don't show that you are hungry and that you want it. And all those things are really, really important. Not one person in this industry is going to make or break you. It's a combination of a lot of different things, and it starts with you.
Amazing. You're like, boom, boom, pew, 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 pew. Star Wars sounds. I love it. You guys, Hunter Scott from Lafamos is lafamos.com, right?
Yeah.
LAFAMOS. So check them out. Thank you so much for your time and all of the wisdom. You guys can't see me, but I'm bowing down, hailing the Hunter. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Next week, we're going to talk to Anthony Bruno of Royalty Exchange, which is a really cool platform connecting musicians with investors. So stay tuned for that. Please don't forget to rate and comment on iTunes and Stitcher Radio if you like this podcast. It's the best way to keep it going, get more subscribers, and continue to share this awesome information with the indie music community. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. All of the music on this podcast was provided by yours truly. The theme song is called Inevitably, and it was written with Cameron Ernst and produced by Joey Auck. If you're interested to find out more about my own composing and songwriting projects, go to cbemusic.com. If you're a musician looking to really get some results that you're psyched about in your music career, then head to inthekeyofsuccess.com, where I've created a bunch of different kinds of resources just for you. Key Conversations is sponsored in part by Bandzoogle. They make it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Their step-by-step system gets you online in minutes, and you can choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes and customize them with their easy point-and-click editor. All the features you could possibly imagine for a professional website are built in. So because you are a Key Conversations podcast listener, you get a special 3-month free trial just for you. Go to www.inthekeyofsuccess.com/resources and click on the Bandzoogle logo to access your free extended trial.